activated!
Hey all, welcome to the review of Mach Megazord. It's actually one of the figure sets, Zord sets from the second wave of RPM Micro Zords. It's available only in the UK and in Asia. Anyway, so you've got 3 Zords here, labeled 7, 8, and 9. And they combine to form the 3rd Megazord in Power Rangers RPM, which is the Mach Megazord. Alright, so these guys are pretty cute and they match pretty well with the previous Zords. And today I'm going to be covering how they compare with the original Bandai Japan Zords. It should be noted that these, the 7 and 8 Zords, the gold and silver Zords, are a little smaller than the previous Micro Zord.
Go Power Rangers RPM! Go go! RPM!
The Falcon Zord is made of 3 parts. This blade, the main body, and the tail part, which is actually pretty consistent with the original, although in the original toy the blades weren't removable. I should say that the mold is pretty accurate, as with the other Micro Zords. Everything's pretty much the same. The morphing sequence is also pretty much the same. There's only one difference in the sculpt, and that's how the blades are together. It should be of note that in the original Japanese toy, and even in the American version, the blades can actually separate to be more like from the original show. Now the thing with this is that it's missing a few paint apps, but they're not major. Just there's no black paint other than in the eyes, so you don't see it here and on the underside. None of that. As with most of the Zords, it also doesn't have the symbol on it. There's also no green paint for the cockpit. And yes, it's actually based on a chicken, if you haven't figured that out by now. The original Zord was a chicken. Everything else is the same. There's a connector there, which allows it to be used as an arm. Same thing with the Micro Zord. The tail portion comes off in much the same way. They look pretty identical. Not much of a difference except for this peg at the back part, which I'll be talking about later some more. Tiger Jet is pretty show accurate in terms of sculpt. There's a lot more detail on the original Japanese toy, sculpt wise, but I think for a small toy it captures it pretty well, so there's not a lot of problem with that. No symbol either. The thing that I noticed is on the main body there's no red paint, like at all. There's no red paint on the wings, as you can see. There's also no red paint on the cockpit. And it's lacking black stripes on the side. But like I said, it's a pretty good representation for a smaller figure. I'm just not sure about the wings, if I'm okay with these entirely, because they don't look like the original wings, but they're passable. Not much to complain about. The spikes aren't as sharp as on the original, but like I said, it's a pass. Remember, this is a toy mainly marketed for children, and it has like a build-a-figure component to it, so it shouldn't be like too sharp or anything like that. The helmet comes off in one part in the original and also the Japanese version. I'm sorry, in the American version, but it's a little different in the Micro Zord version. Like I previously said before, there are no hinges on Micro Zords and everything's reliant on pegs and peg holes. So here you've got, this is actually 4 parts. You take out the helmet here, so it's that part over there, and you remove these, but they don't go on the helmet. Later we'll discuss that more when we talk about the combos that you can use this with. One more thing to note is that instead of red, like on the original figure, on the original Zord, you get a more fuchsia pink here. And because you'll only be using this with the Ultrazord and the SkyRev Megazord, it makes more sense because the overall color there is fuchsia because of the Paleomax. So put those back together and you have your Tiger Jet. Time for the big guns. This is the Whale Zord, the reconfigured Venjix Doomsday bot. Thing you have to note here is that it's actually pretty close in sculpt to the original. See that? It's very close. The thing with Micro Zords is they tend to keep the look of the original, but just dumb it down and make it smaller and replace the hinges with pegs. Similar here, most of the transformation is the same, except you have pegs here, you don't here. This has a swivel joint here, but you can't remove. You can, however, remove the wings over here. So it's not like here, because you have a hinge. So you can't remove this. Another thing to note is that you don't have the gigantic nacelles there. You have this sliding hole thing, which you can put Zords with pegs jutting out on it. Now everything here is pretty much the same. The head comes off the same, which reveals the head of the Mach Megazord. Everything here is the same, except you don't have joints for the fins over here, unlike the original, which actually breaks off.
Activating 10-second attack burst configuration.
You can actually go jet mode with this as well, but not as well as you would be able to with the American version, because you don't get to turn these out. They stay like that, but you can actually flip this and you have your jet mode. Thing is, they don't come together like they should. But your jet mode's there. Now, as I mentioned, for Zords with peg holes, you can actually slide the Zords under the wing and you can carry them around. About paint apps, it's missing the blue here where the wings are. It's missing, you know, a strip of blue there, and it's also not got the black. It doesn't have the section here where the windows used to be in the Japanese and American Zords. There's a black section there with green windows. It's not present there. There's actually no green paint on it. if you turn it over, the head doesn't have the green strip here for jet mode, and it's also lacking silver paint on the blade areas. But again, since this is a smaller Zord, it's pretty much got everything you need there. Now, to form the Mach Megazord, you're going to need to work on, probably you'd want to work on Mach Megazord's body first, which you just pretty much stand up and split in the midsection. Thing about Micro Megazords for the RPM line is you have hinges for the base bodies, and usually they function as hinges for leg parts. Turn these upside like so. There you go. Make sure the hinges are up top. I'm sorry, the nacelles are up top. Just simply move the head. In true Micro Zord fashion, you just transfer the head and put it on the front, but that's pretty much how they do it in the original as well. The transformation for the Falcon Zord is exactly the same as the show and the original figures. Slap them on the side like so. For Tiger Zord, Tiger Jet, you're gonna have to, okay, in the original you take this entire section and move it here, but here you're going to have to remove each wing from this slot, see that? Remove it there, and put it on the next couple of slots down there. Do the same for the other side, and that's your second arm. Ta-da! Alright, so there's your Mach Megazord. As you can see, the Micro Zord doesn't even reach the original's knees, basically. That all of the original Japanese Megazords were of the same height, and roughly the same height, and the Micro Zords are the same, so you can pretty much assume that they'll also be around a fourth or a fifth of the originals. But you can see that even with a smaller Silver Ranger figure and Gold Ranger figures, he's still pretty small. But like I said, he gets bigger. If you get the other sets, collect them all, you're gonna get a much bigger Megazord when you put everything together. And that's our review for the Mach Megazord.
The RPM Micro Megazords may look tiny, but they pack a big alien-busting punch. You can morph them again, and again, and again, into enough power to totally destroy evil. Alien-busting RPM Micro Megazord sets, only from Bandai.